What's up everyone, Clark Glassford, founder of My Practice Interview. We help you land your dream job, and today I have 4 key insider tips that will help you separate yourself from the herd of applicants and be number 1. These 4 tips will take your interview from good to great, or in some cases, from really bad to super awesome. You want to hear these 4 tips. They're based on my years and years of interviewing experience. I see so many applicants not doing these. You'll want to do them, so stick around. Here we go. So when it comes to interviewing, what is the purpose of an interview? Some of you are like, well, the purpose of an interview is for a hiring manager to see whether I have the skills and abilities to do the job. Yes, kind of. It is that, but it's also about you learning about what the employer is looking for. You learning about the employer, the organization, what skills they need to do the job, so you can also make an informed decision. It's not a one-way conversation. It has to be a two-way conversation, and you have to learn to not fall into the trap of only speaking when spoken to. It is so important that you ask questions along the way and really get into that habit of, if you're not sure, you're asking, you're getting clarity, and there's 4 key points here that I'm going to tell you. When it comes down to answering questions, I want you to follow these 4 in the order I'm going to describe them here. And it's super simple. No one does it except for you now, because you've got access to this video. So really cool. Also, now, I'm assuming that you've watched my other videos. So you're understanding behavioral interview questions, you're understanding what technical competencies are, you're understanding what the STAR technique is, and if you haven't, don't worry, you're not out of luck. In the links below will be a playlist to all those videos to help you in your preparation. This video is all about fine-tuning your interview. So here we go, 4 key points. And they go like this. Listen, ask questions, think, come back. Huh, what? Listen, ask questions, think, and come back. Clark, what on earth do you mean? All right, let me explain. So when you go to an interview and you've practiced from what you've learned from my videos, you've got a list of scenarios and stories that you want to tell, you've anticipated some of the questions that may be asked, you are ready to start answering as soon as the interviewer starts asking questions. So the first tip here, listen to the question. And what I mean by that is when we get to the interview, sometimes because we've prepared and we've got these examples floating around in our head, as soon as the interviewer starts asking the question, you're going, oh yeah, okay, I know what he's asking. I'm going to use this example to answer that question. That's okay, but some of the questions you're asked, although they're not trick questions, trained interviewers are not trying to trick you, but there are subtleties to the question and you need to pick up on those subtleties. So for example, if I ask you a question, tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult customer, you could say, yes, I've got a great example to that. There's this difficult customer. I did these 10 awesome things to try and resolve the situation. At the end of the day, he still left unhappy. Now, of course, I'm simplifying my example there. That may be a perfectly good answer to that specific question, but I could add one word into that question, which changes the dynamic of the question. So if I say, tell me about a time you successfully dealt with a difficult customer and how did you resolve it, that changes the dynamic of the question. So if you haven't listened to the question and you haven't listened to all the key words in that question, if you answered using the first example I gave where you did these 10 wonderful things and the customer still left upset, well, you didn't really answer the question, did you? Because you haven't successfully resolved the situation. So it's really key you take a few seconds to listen to the question. Try and block out your mind from going right to an immediate answer and listen to what the question's asking. If you have to ask them to repeat that question, go ahead. The points I'm giving you here, these key tips, do not cause you to lose marks. At the end of the interview, I'm going to be assessing what you say. Not that you asked to repeat the question, not that you took a second to think about your response. I'm writing down what you say, and that's what I use to assess you. So listen to the question. Next point, ask questions. So this is really key here. If you are unsure of what the hiring manager is asking, ask them. Ask them to explain. Are you looking for this? Are you looking for that? Is there something specific you're looking for in this question? You could get a really vague question like this. Tell me about your worst customer service experience. Well, that's a pretty vague question. And for me, I'm going, do I want an answer that is on a personal level Or do I want an answer that's on a work-related level? I'm not sure which way to go. So many applicants just jump in with whatever they think. And so they give a personal example, they might give a work example. The interviewer might be looking for the opposite. So they might be looking for the work-related example. You've given a personal example. You didn't really answer the question again. So ask the interviewer. If you have to say, are you looking for a personal or work-related example? Let them guide you. The worst they're gonna say is, you pick, that's it. The best they're gonna say is they're gonna give you direction on how to answer. Awesome. Now you've got that direction. Now you know how to start structuring your answer. All your competition probably won't do that. So now you've got inside information that will help you structure your answer to make it a great answer to the question they're asking. So make sure you ask questions. Next one, think about your response. So many times in interviews, once the question's asked and you think you've digested what it is they're looking for, you jump right in with a response. You just got to start talking, because if you don't talk, well, there's dead air in the room. And dead air is no good because then the room's quiet, and I don't like quiet, it's awkward, so I've just got to keep talking, and I'm going to talk. You want to think about your response first. The only person in the room that silence is awkward to is you. The interviewer is using it as time to reflect on your previous responses. Take a break from writing notes. Give their hand a break. Think about lunch. Think about a meeting they've got after. They're okay. They are trained to have silences. Take those few seconds to think about how you want to structure your response. Because in those few seconds, you may come up and go, do I know what they're asking in this question? Maybe you have to ask a question. Or maybe you just need to structure one of your scenarios that was actually tailored for another question that you'd prepared for, but tailored for the question that the interviewers just asked. So take that time to think about your response. Again, you do not lose points for doing that. The silence is only awkward to you. Don't let it get to you. Last tip here is come back. So there are points in the interview where a question will get asked, and sometimes you just don't have a response. And what happens when that happens? You start to panic and you start to think, okay, now the room's quiet. I don't have a response. I'm not sure what to say. I didn't prepare for this interview. Don't worry about that. Just ask the interviewer, can I come back to this question? Can we skip this one and come back to it at the end of the interview? Every interview I have ever been on, if I've asked that question, and any time someone has ever asked me as the interviewer if they can do that, I have said, sure, no problem. Remember, and I've said this in previous videos, my job as an interviewer is to get the best response out of you as possible. So however I go about getting that, and however you go about delivering that, I'm okay with that. So if it means we've got to come back to this question at the end of the interview, no big deal. The advantage to you is this. If you skip over a question, you can build confidence as you go through the interview because you're answering all the other questions. You get to the end of the interview, you know it's the last question, they're gonna come back to it. You now have time to breathe and relax and think about a response. So don't let it get your stress level up. But the key thing here is, as you go through that interview, you actually, in your subconscious, start to think about a response. And I know it sounds kind of strange, but I've seen it over and over again, and I've seen it in myself when I've answered interview questions. I get to the end, the interviewer asks me that question again, and all of a sudden, boom, I've got the response. It's there, it magically appeared. And that happens so often. So your subconscious works on it, you've got an answer, you use it, and if your subconscious has gone to sleep through the interview and hasn't worked on it, well, at least you know it's the last question, and you can take that time now to think about a response. So always ask to come back. Again, you don't lose marks. So those are my 4 key tips for you. They really, really accelerate your interview examples, the stories you're gonna tell from good to great. Trust me, it works. You have to treat the interview as a two-way conversation. Don't worry about the silence. Ask questions, come back, think about your responses. So that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Again, in the links below, copy of my practice interview ebook. It's free, download it, do yourself a favor. At the end of the ebook has actual sample interviews that you can practice. Get it now. Also in the links, my interview accelerator workshop. $20 is all it takes for you to get into this workshop and learn a step-by-step approach on every step of the interview and how to prepare for that interview, starting with your resume, cover letter, the types of interview questions you can be asked, the different types of scenarios that are thrown at you, how to answer those scenarios, and the pitfalls so many applicants fall into, and how to avoid those. It's an excellent resource. And at the end of the day, if you're one of those people out there that just struggles with interviews, needs to build confidence, needs that extra guidance, talk to me. I'm an interview coach. Reach out to me, email me. We'll have a conversation. I have lots of solutions for you. We can work something to make sure you get hired for the job of your dreams. So at the end of the day, happy interviewing, everyone. We'll see you next time.